Well, it's just a joy to be with you this morning and also those that are watching online. Last week I got to meet a young lady. She brought two of her kids. They went to children's church, had a blast. She stepped into Growth Track, but the interesting thing is she had watched online for 3 weeks before she felt comfortable actually coming into the room. And so I just want to say to others that are watching online, I hope I get to meet you one day as well, but thanks for joining in. And just, again, with the missions trip, I want to say thank you to Joe and Barbara and the whole team. Blessing to hear what God did through your lives down there. And just a little plug for World Missions. We are a worldwide church, by the way. And so when anything happens in the world, earthquakes in Haiti and so forth, the Nazarene Church can respond immediately. In fact, if you go to NCM, NazareneCompassionateMinistries.com, and anytime anything, again, happens in the world, you can donate there, learn how to pray, just how to help, because we want to make a difference in our world. That's part of our mission here at Canton, Nazarene. So can we just give God one more praise for what he's doing through our local church? My heart is full of joy. All right, so now on to the message. This question that I want us all of us to look at today. How do I resist temptation? How do I resist temptation? This is, it's a pretty serious question. This isn't the easiest message to preach because, I've fallen to temptation. None of us have batted 1,000 when it comes to dealing with temptation. So, when you talk about practicing what you preach, it's a little hard to stand up here. So I want you to know, with this message, my heart is one of love. I am going to try to teach you, to help you, because I know, help us, because I know when we fall to temptation, we don't resist it, but we fall to it, it just hurts people around us, it hurts us, it separates us from God. So this is a really, really, really important question to look at. How do I resist temptation? So in order to kind of get us thinking about this, I want us to imagine a tree. I want us to imagine a tree. Use your imagination and think of this tree and think of fruit hanging from the tree. And I want you to envision the fruit as the temptation. It's the thing that looks good, the thing that you want, that tastes good, right? And then I want you to see the tree. It's like the delivery system of the temptation. So there's a delivery system for the temptation. But then there are roots to the tree. There are roots to the tree that are actually where the temptation comes from. And so what you have to understand with temptation is that temptation is rooted in a lie. And let me say it this way. You're not going to be very successful at dealing with resisting temptation if you never get to the roots of the lie that the temptation is based on. Are you with me, church? So there's roots, there's a lie that grows and that has a delivery system, and there's this fruit that's the temptation. But we have to get to the roots, to the lie that the temptation is based on. Jesus said something that you may or may not believe. I believe it, but you may not believe it because I don't know where you are in your faith. But Jesus was talking to some religious leaders one day, and he said this to them about the devil. He said, "You belong to your father, the devil." Now, you can imagine being in a conversation. You probably have never done this before, but if you're in a conversation, would you ever say something like this to the people you're talking to? Hey, by the way, you belong to your father, the devil. Why would Jesus say something like this? Well, Jesus had said that he is the Son of God, that God was his father, and they thought Jesus was a liar, and so they thought he was telling a lie and wasn't being truthful. And so in the only way that Jesus he comes back to these religious leaders in this context and says, "You belong to your father, the devil, and you want to carry out your father's desires." So you belong to your father, the devil, and you want to carry out his desires. Well, what are his desires? He was a murderer from the beginning. Now think about that for a moment. Jesus is saying, I believe in this entity, this real person called the devil. And by the way, the Church of the Nazarene believes that there's a real entity, a real person called the devil. I believe that. Not everyone believes that, but we believe that. Again, I'm just saying what Jesus believed and what we believe. You don't have to believe it, but this is what Jesus said. He said the devil was a murderer from the beginning. I mean, he's just a murderer. He wants to kill and destroy. He said he wasn't holding to the truth. The devil is never held to the truth, for there is no truth in him. Think about that. There's no truth in the devil. Absolutely no truth, Jesus says. When he lies, he speaks his native language, for he is a liar and the father of lies. So again, in only the way Jesus could say it, he's saying to these religious leaders who he's having this conversation with, your daddy is the devil, he's a liar, and you're believing his lies, and because you're believing the lies, you're gonna carry out what's in his heart, and that's murder, because he was a murderer from the beginning, and because you're believing the lies of your father, you are going to play a part in what this devil wants to see happen to me, and that is for me to be murdered on a Roman cross. Pretty intense conversation, right? So again, Jesus believed that there was this real entity, this real person called the devil. He really exists, and when he lies, he speaks in his native language, for he is a liar and the father of all lies. That's what he believed. Now, kind of to lighten this up a little bit, I Googled just lies that we believe, right? I Googled lies because we know Google is the source of all truth. Haha, not really. But I just Googled, what lies we believe, and this is what it came up with, and maybe you can relate to some of these. Let's see if you've ever said one of these or you've believed one of these. Here's the first one. I'm fine, nothing's wrong. We probably all said that one. We probably all believed that one at some point. Yeah, I'm fine, nothing's wrong with me. Yeah, right. I was stuck in traffic. That's why I was stuck in traffic. Come on now, you weren't stuck in traffic. I'm sure many police officers have heard this one here. I only had one beer. Only one officer, I only had one. I'm sure they've heard that one before, right? I love this one. It was on sale, Dad. It was on sale. Come on now. Yeah, come on, it was not on sale. That thing costs way too much. Here's one. This is the best Christmas lie ever. I mean, you might say this during, I know, why would you lie at Christmas? I'm just saying, you might say this lie at Christmas. Here it is. You open up the present and you say, thanks, it's what I've always wanted, You ever said that one before? Never lie on Christmas, right? Here's another. You haven't changed a bit. You look the same. I didn't touch it. I have no idea where it is. There's, you probably heard that one from your kids. I have a headache. I have a headache. That we probably used that one before. And here's the final one. I would never lie to you. I would never lie to you. I would never lie to you. Well, those are some lies that maybe we've said before, maybe we've even believed. But the devil, he comes to Jesus in the wilderness, and he speaks a lie to the devil, or he speaks a lie to Jesus. And when he speaks this lie to Jesus, I think what we have to ask ourselves is this question, are there any consequences to believing lies? Are there any consequences to believing lies? Because if the devil is the father of all lies, are there any consequences to believing lies? I was just recently up at the doctor's because I have a condition. This condition is in my esophagus. I have some inflammation in my esophagus, so when I eat, sometimes food can get stuck in my esophagus and I can choke. It's a serious condition. So I'm at this allergist, right? And so I get to the doctor's office and the doctor says, I look on your records and I see that you're allergic to penicillin. I'm like, yeah, I'm allergic to penicillin since I was 9. I was told I was allergic to penicillin. I guess I had some kind of reaction. And he said, well, let's test for that. And I said, well, okay, if you want to test for that. And so he gives me some penicillin, and I'm thinking because I'm allergic to penicillin, I'm going to have some kind of reaction, right? So after 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, there's no reaction. And then he gives me more penicillin at the 30-minute mark, and there's a nurse monitoring me and all those kind of things. And again, a lot of penicillin in my mouth now. It tastes like bubble gum, so it was kind of a pleasant experience. But I'm thinking, for sure I'm going to have a reaction now, 35, 40, 45, 50. An hour goes by, the doctor comes back in, and he says, I have good news for you. You are not allergic to penicillin. You're not allergic to penicillin. Now, that may not mean a lot to you, but it means a ton to me because for my whole life, I believed that I've been allergic to penicillin. So I go to the doctors, I'm sick, we can't give you penicillin, we have to give you this other medication that's way more money. So I paid a lot of money over my whole life for medications that don't have penicillin. But I was having this moment because he gives me this paper and he has a signature on it, his signature saying I'm not allergic to penicillin anymore. And so I leave that place and I have this paper in hand, this authorized paper, and I'm driving down 77 in my 95 Wrangler with the top down and the sun's out and the wind's coming in and I've got Journey blasting in my Jeep, don't stop believing. I'm having a moment because I'm no longer allergic to penicillin. I mean, I believed something for my whole life, and now I'm free. I can have this life-giving medicine called penicillin. In fact, I almost can't wait till I get sick again because now I can have penicillin. But for my whole life, I believed a lie. I believed something that wasn't true. And again, as I'm driving down my Jeep, I'm thinking, wait a second. What if there are people, what if I have believed lies my whole life that aren't true, and because I believe these lies, I have not received the life-giving truth, the transformational truth of Jesus Christ that could free me and help me to live in a brand new way. And again, we can believe or not what Jesus said about the devil, and I do, but we have to ask this question. I think we all have to agree. Are there consequences to believing lies? I mean, are there consequences to believing that you're alone in whatever you're facing, that you're alone in the temptation and no one's with you? Is there a consequence to believing that lie? Because the devil will try to get you to believe that you're all alone in what you're facing and what you're being tempted by. Are there consequences in believing that you're not valued, that you're not enough, that you just don't measure up? Because the devil will try to get you to believe that. He'll speak that lie into your life. I mean, I guarantee you, he'll do that. Are there consequences to that? Are there consequences to believing that you don't have what it takes? Are there consequences to you believing that if you do X, this person will change? That is a lie. You can't change anyone. Only God can change the human heart. And some of you are believing, if I just do this, or if I do that, this person will change. And you'll stay in toxic relationships because you believe that lie, but it's not true. Only God can change a person. Are there consequences to believing a lie? Are there consequences to believing, all you procrastinators, we'll lighten it up here, all you procrastinators, are there consequences to believing that when you have time, then you will get X done, okay? You're never going to get it done. So the devil comes to Jesus in Luke 4:3. The devil comes into the wilderness where Jesus happens to be alone. He's being tested there. He's being tempted by the devil. In Luke 4:3, the devil says to Jesus, if you are the Son of God, tell this stone to become bread. So here is the temptation. If you are the Son of God, here's the fruit. Tell this stone to become bread. Now, in this temptation is one of the greatest lies of all time. This lie can destroy a marriage. This lie can destroy a friendship. This lie can destroy a church. This lie can destroy a corporation. This lie can destroy a family. I mean, this lie is the most dangerous lie that has ever been told, and it's found in this temptation. You say, well, where do you see that at, Pastor? I mean, if you're the Son of God, tell this stone to become bread. Here is the lie in this temptation. Here is the root that comes through the delivery system of the devil to Jesus in the wilderness, and here it is. The lie is that we can do whatever we want. That's the lie. We can do whatever we want. Where do you get that, Pastor? Well, the devil comes to Jesus and says, hey, you're the Son of God. I mean, if you're the Son of God, right? You're the Son of God. You've been fasting. You're in this wilderness. You're really hungry. I mean, if you're the Son of God, you can do whatever you want. I mean, here's a stone. I mean, turn that stone to bread and go ahead and eat and satisfy the hunger. I mean, you can do whatever you want. You're the Son of God. You're the Son of God. And we can believe this lie too, that we can do whatever we want to do. But it's a lie. And our culture will say this. Our culture will say, go ahead and do whatever you want to do. And because our culture has said this, I mean, we just have a generation of young people who don't know what it means to be told no. I mean, so young people, they don't understand when you say no, they don't know what that means because culture has said, hey, just do whatever you want to do. And we live in a culture that has just failed to say, hey, this is the right way to do it. This is how it needs to get done. People are afraid to say that anymore. And so we have a younger generation that is just this believing this lie. Well, you can do whatever you want to do. And we see it on Facebook. We see it on social media. You can say what you want to say. You can do what you want to do. But it's not just this younger generation that's experienced this because of our culture. It's also the older generation. I mean, if you've kept up with the athletic news in this last week, I mean, last weekend, Coach Urban Meyer, former Ohio State University football coach and now Jacksonville Jaguar coach, he fell for this lie. I mean, the enemy came to him at some point and said, you can do whatever you want to do. I mean, the team's flying home, but you don't have to fly home with the team. I mean, even though you're the head coach, you should fly, but you can do whatever you want to do. You can stay in Ohio and you can do whatever you want to do. You can go to this bar that you own. And I mean, you own the bar, just go to the bar and you can start drinking, have one beer, two, but whatever. I mean, you can just start drinking because you can do whatever you want to do. And before you know it, you've drank too much, and then you can do whatever you want to do, and you can have some lady that's dancing on your lap in the bar. You can do whatever you want to do until someone has a phone and catches it on video, and then the video goes viral, and then his wife sees it, and his kids see it, and his boss sees it at the Jacksonville Jaguars, and his team sees it, and the world sees it. And you can do whatever you want to do until there's consequences. And then he finds himself on national TV apologizing to the world and saying what a stupid decision that was to make. But the devil wants you to believe this lie. Hey, you can do whatever you want to do. So Jesus says to the devil in Luke 4:4, he answers him with truth, and Jesus says, it is written, man shall not live on bread alone. Which means this, that Jesus understood he was under authority. He understood he was under authority, and because he was under authority, he couldn't just do whatever he wanted to do. In fact, he knew this truth, that there are few choices that lead to success. There are few choices that lead to success. I mean, here's the devil saying, you're hungry, Jesus, here's a stone. I mean, turn it to bread, you can eat, you can fill yourself up and satisfy that hunger. And Jesus says, oh, no, I'm a man under authority. Do you remember what he told his closest followers later on when, again, it was around lunchtime and they're bringing food and they're saying, Jesus, aren't you hungry? And this is what Jesus said to his closest followers, my food is to do the will of my Father. Which means there are a few choices that I can make. Yes, I'm the Son of God, but there are a few choices that I can make that are gonna help me be successful in the mission that my Father sent me to do on this earth, and that is to live a sinless life and die on a cross for sinners, shed my blood that so we could receive forgiveness. And if I compromise right now at the beginning of this whole thing, I know I will not be able to complete the mission and be successful, because really the truth is there are few decisions that we can make and be successful in life. Spiritually or whatever endeavor you're facing, there are a few choices. We're under this illusion that we can make all these choices. It's not true. There are very few choices that we can make that lead to success. And if we're gonna be successful, we have to have character. Character is doing the right thing when no one is watching. Character is doing the right thing when no one is watching. It's like the stop sign down at the end of the street. There's a phantom police car there. There's a phantom police car at the stop sign. Now, sometimes there's a real police car at the stop sign. And if you go to a stop sign and there's an intersection and there's a real police officer sitting there in a real car, you stop. I mean, you go and you stop and you look both ways. I mean, the cop's sitting right there, right? You're not gonna roll through the stop sign. But what do you do when the imaginary police officer is there? When they're not really there? We don't come to a complete stop and look both ways. I mean, you can kind of slow down and kind of roll through, right? You roll through. I've done it all. I do it too much probably, all right? But that's human nature. See, human nature is to roll through the stop sign. Human nature is to do what we want to do. Human nature is not character doing the right thing when no one's watching, okay? So we're battling this human nature that says, hey, do what you want to do. Why do you want to do what you want to do? Because you think if you do what you want to do, then you're going to be happy. It's going to make you happy. But let me tell you this story about happiness. If you want to be happy for an hour, then eat a good steak. It'll make you happy. If you want to be happy for a day, go play a good round of golf. Or if you want to be very, very frustrated, you're no good, you might get, both ways there. If you want to be happy for a day, go play a good round of golf. If you want to be happy for a week, take an ocean cruise. If you want to be happy for a month, go buy a new car. I mean, you can just, enjoy the new smell of that car and drive it around, be happy for a month. But if you want to be happy for a lifetime, there's one question that needs to be answered. And here's the question. If you don't show up, is anyone gonna miss you? Is anyone gonna miss you? What's the moral of that story, Pastor Dan? Well, here's the moral. If you live a life doing whatever you wanna do, when you don't show up, people are probably gonna say, I'm glad they didn't show up. I'm glad they're not here. But if you make the few choices that lead to success and you don't show up someday, people are gonna miss you dearly. Because when you show up in your marriage and you show up in your parenting and you show up on your team and you show up in school and you show up at work and you do the right thing, and you don't only do the right thing when people are watching, but you do the right thing when no one's watching, you have character. When you do those things and you don't show up, people are gonna miss you. But when you show up to school and to work and your team and your church and you just kind of do whatever you wanna do, people will not miss you when you don't show up. So if you wanna have a happy life, you gotta have character. Well, what are some of the few choices we need to make? Well, I'm gonna give you a couple real quick. Number one is attitude. You have to have a faith-filled attitude. You have to have a positive energy about you. I took my staff to the Steelers headquarters over in Pittsburgh one year. We went over there for a conference, and we walk into to this impressive building, and right through the front doors, there stands Mr. Rooney. He was the owner of the Steelers at that time. He was the U.S. ambassador to Ireland, and here he is, and he reaches out his hand, big smile, shakes our hand. Glad to have you guys here. So glad you came over. Welcome. Just warm, just a great attitude, positive energy, so impressive. I mean, blew me away, really. And then we're standing there talking to Mr. Rooney, and then in comes a yellow Hummer. A yellow Hummer comes into the parking lot, and out hops Ben Roethlisberger, Big Ben. It was his rookie year, so this is a little while ago. I think Big Ben was having a bad morning, so he comes in anyways. He comes in, and he's dressed in sweats and has a skull cap on, and it's pulled down, and he kind of stands next to Mr. Rooney, but doesn't even acknowledge us, doesn't say hi, just kind of has his head down. You could tell that his attitude wasn't so great. And I just thought, what a picture, what a contrast. Because you will brand yourself. You will brand yourself by the attitude that you have. You're either gonna have a positive attitude, a faith-filled attitude, or you're gonna have a negative attitude, a negative energy about yourself. And those two pictures, and I'm not saying Big Ben's like that all the time. He probably, like I said, had a bad day, but it was so evident. It's like, wow, I wanna be like Mr. Rooney. I wanna be like Mr. Rooney. I think the other choice is just effort. I mean, to work hard. You're either gonna be a hard worker or you're not gonna work hard. And you will brand yourself this way. If you work hard, you'll be branded in a positive light. If you don't work hard, you won't be branded in a positive light. It's just attitude and effort. James talks about this. It's faith and works. It's beliefs and practices. I mean, these two things go together. And if you have these two things, that you'll be successful in your faith. You'll be successful in whatever you're doing. And you'll be successful in resisting temptation. There's only a few choices that you can make that really lead to success. And Jesus understood this. And Jesus said, Satan, listen, I'm not falling for the lie that I can do whatever I want to do. No. No, I'm going to have a faith-filled attitude. I'm going to give effort here, even though I would love to turn that stone into bread and eat and satisfy the hunger. I'm not going to do it because I know the truth. There are a few choices that lead to success. So why would we have the motivation to do what is right when no one is watching? I think the only motivation can be this, that we have to think of others before ourselves. I mean, because at the heart of temptation, isn't it like, well, I want to do this to satisfy me. I mean, this is going to satisfy me. This is why I would say yes to this. And so I think the only hope we have for motivation is we have to think of others before ourselves. Think of others before yourself. Where do you get this from, Pastor Dan? Well, John 15:12, when Jesus says, my command is this, love each other as I have loved you. So Jesus is talking to us and he's saying, I have loved you. I have put you before me. That's how I have loved you. I have put you before me. And now I want you to love each other as I have loved you. So I want you to think of others before you think of yourselves. That's true love. I mean, that's what would motivate you to do the right thing when no one is watching. Why else would you do it? So I want you to think about others before yourself when you're facing temptation. I mean, I want you to think of your parents. I want you to think of your brothers and sisters. I want you to think of your husband or wife. I want you to think of your future husband or wife or your future children. Or think of the students you teach. Think of the team that you lead. I mean, think of all the people that you love in this world. I mean, think of the people you go to church with. I mean, think of other people before yourself, because when you think of other people and you're facing this temptation and you need to resist it, but it's really, really hard, you got to think of people that you love, and you got to make the choice that would make them proud. That would make them proud. I mean, this is a real practical thing. He's selling you a lie. He's selling you a lie. He's saying, just give in. What would motivate you to say no? And again, this is just my opinion. But when Jesus was in that wilderness and he was dealing with the devil on this first temptation, I think he thought of you. And I think he thought of you back there, and you back in the corner, and you guys over there, and all you in the middle. I think he thought of us. I think he thought of us, and he said, you know what? I love those people, and I'm gonna put those people before myself. And even though I am the Son of God, and I could turn this stone into bread and eat right now, I'm not going to do it, because I love you so much, and I need to remain sinless, and I'm not gonna compromise the mission that my Father sent me on. I'm not gonna believe the lie and do whatever I wanna do. No, there's few choices that lead to success. Think of others before yourself. So a few reflection questions as we wrap up today. Number one, are you believing a lie? It may not be the lie that I spoke of today, but are you believing a lie? Is there a lie? I mean, you need to search yourself. You need to ask God about this. Am I believing a lie? I mean, that habitual temptation that you always fall to. I mean, you just fall to it every time. You got to start asking God, why am I falling to this? I mean, why do I have this habitual sin? I mean, why can't I resist this temptation? I mean, why is it just repeating in my life? Are you believing a lie? You got to start asking God, what is the lie? What is the root that is creating this delivery system that is producing this fruit, this temptation that's... Are you believing a lie? And then two, what are the consequences? If you are believing a lie, then you got to start asking God, well, what are the consequences? I mean, what are the consequences to me believing this? Are there consequences to believing lies? I think there are. And then three, what choice do you need to start making? So in light of those first two questions, is there a lie I'm believing, and then are there consequences? Well, in light of that, then what choice do you need to start making? What do you need to start doing differently? It may be cutting that delivery system out, but you really got to get to the root. I mean, you got to get to the lie. Because if you never get to the root, you will fall over and over and over again. And that's exactly what the devil wants. You end up, standing before a camera apologizing on national TV because you believed the lie. This last verse, I want this to be an encouragement to you, because I know that this is like a heavy message. Like, oh my goodness, this was a rough one. Yeah, it is. It's a rough one. But this is so encouraging. Hebrews 4:15. I want to wrap up with this. The writer of Hebrews says this: for we do not have a high priest. In the Old Testament, there was a high priest that would represent the people to God. So there was this person in the middle, this mediator. And he says, we don't have a high priest who is unable to empathize. So saying empathy is to feel like, oh, I get that. I understand what this feels like. I know what this is like to empathize with this. For we don't have a high priest who is unable to empathize with our weaknesses. But we have one who has been tempted in every way. Wait, tempted in every way? Yeah, tempted in every way. Whatever temptation you face, the writer of Hebrews is saying, Jesus has been tempted in that way. Really, that one? Yeah, that one. And Jesus is like God, I know what they're dealing with is tough. I mean, God, what they're facing is very hard. I empathize with them. I can feel it's a tough one. They need help, God. We have one who has been tempted in every way, just as we are. And here's the clincher. Yet he did not sin. Jesus did not sin. He never fell to temptation. I mean, you think about that. That blows you away. He was tempted in every way, yet he did not sin. And that's why he's the only one qualified to be our high priest. And he empathizes with us. That should be a super encouragement to you this morning. It encourages me. He knows what it's like. And he wants to help us. And that's why his blood, it's pure, it's sinless. It's what qualifies his blood to be shed, that our sins could be forgiven, that he could die in our place for our sins. And if we place our trust in him, he is there to help us. So it's like we got to pray to Jesus, like, Jesus, help me to see the lie. Help me to get what's the root of this? I mean, Jesus, help me to see the consequences. I mean, Jesus, help me to know what choice I need to make, what I need to do to resist this temptation that the devil is throwing at me to try to get me farther and farther from God and to hurt the people that I love in my life. You with me, church? You understand? Like, he wants you to win. He wants you to have victory over temptation. And he's showing us how to do it. So I want you to stand with me. I'm gonna say a prayer and we're gonna sing one more song and just talk just a minute about some things that are coming up. Father, we come to you this morning and we thank you for your word. And we thank you that it contains truth and it contains the truth that can help us uncover the lies that the devil is throwing our way so we can resist the temptations. And God, I just pray that you would reveal to us over this week and over the months and over the years of our life, reveal these lies, because when the devil speaks his native language, lies, he is a murderer. He comes to seek and kill and destroy. And God, help us to see the consequences. Help us to put others before ourselves. And when the devil comes and say, wow, I gotta do what's right. I gotta make the decision that would make the people proud that I love and that love me. And God, I'm so thankful that when we have fallen, oh, you're the great high priest who can forgive us of our sin. But Jesus, we don't wanna live in prison by sin. You have more for us than that, Jesus. You want us to be free from that power of sin. So God, I just thank you for your life-giving truth. I thank you for the encouragement that you are able to empathize with us. In fact, church, can we just give God praise that Jesus is the pure sacrifice? I mean, he's our high priest. He is able to empathize in every way. I mean, whatever you're facing, whatever you're dealing with, Jesus is there with you. He wants you to win. Thank you, Jesus. And so as we go from this place, as we sing this song and we just give it to you, Lord, and we offer it as a praise, let's continue to worship him as we sing.
Thanks for watching. If this message helped you, share it with someone you know. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you live in the area, we invite you to join us for one of our worship experiences. Go to cantonazarene.com for times and more information. Hey, thanks for being a part of our virtual community.